Which brings us to our next segment, the biggest fraud of week 1.
Yeah.
Want me to go first?
Well, I'll go first. It's in the same game, and then I'll switch to you.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was in that game. It was Miles Sanders. It was a very weird game. Falcons only ran 51 plays. The Panthers ran 77. So this is kind of a stick to priors, I guess. It was a player I was fading. But this is a guy that I'm going to continue to fade, at least for the time being. 18 carries, 4 targets, looks pretty darn good. Issue is the usage was a little bit funky, and I think this is one of those scenarios where the week 1 total numbers don't tell the full story. First of all, they had 37 total touches to running backs if you count Laviska as a running back, which is effectively what he was in this game. That's not generally going to happen for any team in the NFL. Never mind the Panthers, who is a team that will probably not be running 77 plays very often because usually only good offenses get to run 77 plays with any sort of frequency. The average in the NFL tends to be usually in the low 60s. Also, 4 receptions for Miles Sanders. That's pretty good. But really high number of dropbacks total, 42. He runs a route on 21 of those, which is okay. That's decent. Kind of getting into the weeds. But Chuba Hubbard played every third down in this game. So that's 8 of his routes came on third downs, which is typically when we want to have our receiving running backs out there. That leaves 64 combined non-third down snaps between Sanders and Hubbard, so on early down snaps. Sanders ran 21 routes on his 44, while Hubbard ran just 5 on 20. So like double the rate of routes run on early down snaps for Sanders versus Hubbard, despite the fact that Hubbard was actually the one used as the receiving back on passing downs. So basically what I'm taking from that is that probably by just some element of kind of dumb luck, they just happened to call more pass plays when Sanders was on the field and more run plays while Hubbard was on the field. So my guess is that routes split is actually not going to be quite as high moving forward. Maybe he does wind up getting a little bit more of the carries. Also, Sanders winds up getting the goal line touch, but that was his only carry in a short yardage situation. Total 6 short yardage carries, 1 goes to Sanders, 4 go to Hubbard, 1 go to Laviska Shenault. So while the total usage looks pretty good, a lot of that is due to the plays run. And I think when you dive a little further into the stats, it's a little bit noisy. Sanders still profiles as an early down only back who is losing some element, really most of the short yardage. And if you're between the 20s early down back on a team that we don't expect to be very good and score a lot of touchdowns, that's a problem. So I still view Sanders as probably a fairly inconsequential low end RB2 this year, despite a pretty encouraging week 1 in the raw numbers.
Yeah, I actually, when I went through it, I didn't realize the intricacies of the routes run. What I saw was that there was 2-to-1 routes run for Miles Sanders versus Chuba Hubbard. So a whole bunch of carries for Miles Sanders and not that many for Chuba Hubbard. And I thought, wow, they're actually doing the thing where they said they were going to like play him like he caught a bunch of passes in his rookie year with the Eagles. That's great. I will buy because he's really not expensive at all. And he might be a 3-down back, or maybe not a 3-down back, but he's going to probably be running a lot of routes and catching hopefully some passes. I think his routes run were like 45%. Is that what you said?
I had him at 50 actually.
Okay. So like 50, which is like quite high. Like it's not like Christian McCaffrey or anything, but it's quite good.
It's okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to go against you on this one, and I'm actually still probably going to buy a little bit of Miles Sanders. And one of the reasons is, you know who Kyle Borgoni is?
Yeah, absolutely.
He wrote an excellent article/thread on why third downs don't matter for running backs. Have you read it?
Yeah, I saw that. And he's totally right. It's just usually that the third downs usually matter as like a proxy of things that do matter, but third downs themselves are very useless snaps.
Yeah. So I'm not that concerned that Chuba Hubbard ran a bunch of the third downs. Yeah, whatever. What matters is he ran the routes, and he did run the routes. And maybe it was all happenstance and it just happened to work out that way, but it also might have just been the way it worked out. He played a lot of snaps, and therefore he was on the field a lot.
We'll see. My bigger concern would ultimately be the touches. Like 22 touches is incredible, but 22 out of 37 total running back touches. I do think that that's an extreme number. I think if to some extent though, like I don't think that those rates to scale. I think that you'll see teams kind of cap out how much touches they give to one guy, and so if there's less total running back touches, maybe it gets a higher percentage. But just the fact that they were still using Chuba in high leverage situations and in short yardage tells me it's a part of the offense. So I don't know. I'm out on Sanders, but I get your point. I guess my question would be like, how high do you think the ceiling really is for this guy in this offense?
And that's part of the issue is it's not that high. Like it's maybe a high end RB2 is probably what you're getting, which I don't think is that expensive though. Where I'm like, that's fine. Like I would take that. And like I've
what would you trade for him?
Like a second.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like a mid to late second is fine.
I'd probably again
second.
I'm probably not going early second because I really like early second round picks, but I would certainly give a mid second for him, and I'd probably throw a little on top, like I don't know, something else, something else on top, like another player that I don't really like that much.
I think I had him in preseason. I had him in my mid second tier, and that's probably where I would keep him.
I felt like this was a better performance than I expected coming into the season. So
it was better for sure in terms of the raw stuff. I thought that the rotations were mostly kind of what I expected, but I just think that the 77 plays is providing a little noise on the raw touchdowns. Like, I think most times that we run this simulation on how many games they play, it's like 13-3 instead of 18-4.
Fair. All right, so that is Miles Sanders. And if you want to find that article, the guy's name is Kyle Borgoni, and it's at Kyle_Borg. And just search his name with third downs for RBs are largely, and then you'll find it.
It is a really great point. The thing is, like, we don't usually like third downs are almost a proxy variable. It's like we want the running back who plays the third downs because that's usually also the running back who plays the 2-minute drill and who runs a lot of routes generally and gets passing work generally. But like, the times that we do see a back who's like purely a third down back, like the Lions last year, remember when I was like, it was actually a 3-way committee and you were like, no, it wasn't because he didn't have any touches. I was like, but look at the snaps. And it was like, yeah, because every week Justin Jackson was playing every third down and never getting a touch. So it was like a committee. He was playing, he was like eating snaps, but he
was on the field, but he may as well have been the water boy.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so our last topic, Zay Flowers. I got him in here as the biggest fraud.
This is the biggest disagreement for sure.
And I feel like this may be misconstrued because I think he had a very impressive performance. I think where I'm feeling like he's fraudulent is what I've been seeing people talk about his value at. And that's where I'm drawing the line. And I'm like, I don't think he's there yet. I think he's probably a very, very good wide receiver. So, like, let me just back up a second. Zay Flowers had a really high target share. I forget it was 30 or 40%. It was an outrageous target share. He basically swept everyone else out of the building. So great for him. That target share it was only a 2.6 average depth of target. So it seemed like a guy they wanted to get the football into his hands. Unfortunately, that was like the only way that they got the football into his hands, it felt like. And that was disappointing. And Mark Andrews wasn't there. So Mark Andrews, ultra target earner, comes back, takes 25% of the targets. And the Ravens also didn't pass all that much. So I felt like the Todd Monken thing was a bit overblown. And now I'm like, are we just getting more of the same? Where we're getting 30 pass attempts a game. We're going to get 25 to Mark Andrews. We're going to get a bunch of low A-dot targets to Zay Flowers. And he's going to be a really nice player. He's definitely an NFL player. No question about it. There's no bust factor here. I just don't know how high the ceiling is. And I'm not willing to go to he'll develop into like this really great wide receiver at this point. And I feel like that's the price tags we're getting into where it's like I saw people trading him for or saying they were going to trade him for, maybe they did, I can't remember now, but like Drake London. And I'm like, I'd probably still rather have Drake London. I feel like there's a high
I would definitely rather have Drake London. Yeah.
And there isn't with Zay Flowers. And therefore I feel like Zay Flowers is a fraud.
Why are we saying that there's not a high ceiling for Zay Flowers after one game in which he earned a 40% target share? This is like you're doing the Chris Olave thing. You're just like saying there isn't a high ceiling, like in a tautological manner.
2.6 ADOT. This is
one fucking game.
Yeah. We've only got one game. Why would you go to best case scenario on a player who's only played one game?
You're saying that there's no
Only
ceiling
2.68
for
on.
a player who has played one game is a categorically insane thing to say. Also, you're doing the same thing that you did with Olave again, where you're holding him against. What you're holding against him is that he's getting too many short area targets. If you just took away some of the short area targets, he could still have like a 30% target share, and then he'd have like an 8 ADOT, and then you'd be like, oh, this guy's good. But because you add a bunch of extra targets to get to this insane target share, now his ADOT's too low.
Okay.
It's brutal analysis.
You are talking about a team that has passed 30 attempts per game forever. We're talking about a player
with a different play caller that they have now.
Yeah, so we were one game in, and so far it still looks the same. Maybe it'll change.
In a game that they won by like 3 touchdowns.
I hope it changes. We're one game in. I just don't know why we're rushing out to best case scenario on a player that is in an offense that historically has never passed the football, that has a high target earner that did not play, that peppered him with like manufactured touches.
Yes, manufactured touches are good. Guy comes in. They say, man, we got to get this guy the ball. I like that. I guess you don't like it when teams want to get the guy the ball.
I like it when they also wanted to pass him the ball when he wasn't the only option.
Okay, well, so far he's played one game.
Yeah.
And your take on that is that he would be less fraudulent if Mark Andrews was healthy, but Mark Andrews, it's not like he played a bunch of games with a healthy Mark Andrews and was bad. He just has never played a game with a healthy Mark Andrews, so he can't. He can't do things that he's never done.
I'm not rushing out the best case scenario and trading for Drake London or any other really good one.
No, this is you're like hacking. You're like hacking through the straw. Like, I agree with you that the Drake London thing is crazy. All of our listeners agree with you that the Drake London thing is crazy. There's a big room between trade him for Drake London and he's a fraud, and like that's where sanity reigns, is between.
Like I just mentioned, I prefaced by saying this may be misconstrued. I'm not rushing out the best case scenario on this player at this time. I think he's probably.
What would you? Let's talk about it in first instead of straw manning Drake London into this discussion.
Okay.
Let's talk about this in picks
first.
Okay, I'm trading mid first for him. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
It's not crazy. We have a first round pick who is productive, who in his very first NFL game, the team is like, we are turning our entire offense into the Zay Flowers show. We need to get him the ball as much as humanly possible. Let's go. Sometimes it doesn't have to be hard.
A mid-first round pick at this point of the year could not be a mid-first round pick. It could be Drake May. It could be Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not willing to forego the opportunity to get one of those players onto my team for Zay Flowers. That's really what it comes down to.
Every league might be a little bit different, but I would say that this year, I think that there is less elasticity to mid-first than usual, based on the fact that there are, in most of my leagues, 2 to 3 to 4 teams that are actively trying to lose every single game on purpose to get Caleb Williams.
That's a good point. There is a generational quarterback.
Like I normally I would totally agree with you, and it's totally a league-to-league thing. Everybody listening, you know what your league is like. Yeah. But most of my leagues this year, it's like more segmented, where it's not like there's just a bunch of bad teams. It's like for instance, I have some picks in some leagues where I just have a really shitty team's pick. Like I just have a manager who just a really low value team, and their team is just naturally bad. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have like the 101 or 102. I'm not gonna have the 101 or 102 because you know who is able to do better than a team who's like naturally bad, a team who's trying to lose games, right? Like I'm in a spot where I'm in a league where I'm trying to get Caleb Williams, and I'm in the arms race. I'm in the reverse arms race of the century. The only 2 players I have on my roster left that will be active on Sunday are Josh Allen and Michael Mayer, and the only 2 players that he has that are going to be active, or 3, is like Kincaid and I think like Kendre Miller and like some other bum, and it's like who can get to 0 players first. So. Okay. If you find yourself in these leagues, you can feel pretty safe that if you have like a mid-ish first, it's probably going to be in the 105 to 108 range.
Having said that, I take back my stance, and I agree that if you're in a league where a mid first is an absolutely locked in mid first, not a like fringy mid first, then yeah, I'd probably be fine moving mid first for him. As long as you're like confident it's like the 105, 106. If there's a chance it's in the 104 or higher, then I'm not trading it.
Sure.
Whatsoever. Fine. Even if I don't think it's going to be 104 or higher, if there's a chance that it could be, I'm not trading it for Zay Flowers.
That's fine.
Yeah, it is. Of course it's fine. Top of this draft is loaded. I'm excited. It's more loaded than this.
It's going to be good. A lot. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting draft here. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully the mid first, like, it gets thicker as we go. So far, it kind of seems like a studs and duds draft to me, but we'll see.
They often do, though. Like at this point of the draft season, there often is studs and duds. It's we'll get a bunch of guys that outperform what the expectation is that we've never even heard of before that arrive. And then we'll get some, like, there's a bunch of like quarterbacks that are playing exceptionally well right now that may or may not declare early for this draft. I kind of think that they probably shouldn't because it's already locked in at the top with Caleb Williams and Drake May, but they might. And I think this draft is going to be again, looks very studly at the top, like very, very studly at the top. Like unlike this last past class where we had Bijan Robinson and then like kind of everyone else, that was not a great draft from a studs perspective. No, this one, I feel like we have like,
at the very least, like 4 should be totally loaded, right?
What's that?
I mean, at the very least, the top 4 looks loaded.
Yeah, I feel like we have like 3 or 4 like Bijan level prospects in this class. Maybe not quite Bijan, but like Bijan-esque.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have Caleb Williams probably walk in as a top 6 startup pick. I could legitimately see him going 101 in some startups next year before he ever plays the NFL game. I'm not saying I'm taking him there. I'm just saying, like, I think that's going to happen.
I'm not taking him there, but I 100% expect it. Maybe not 101. Like I still think Patrick Mahomes will go ahead of him, and
like most of the time for sure. I just could totally see someone like
in the one-off
posting the screenshot. Yeah.
Somebody will do it.
But I think his ADP will probably be like 104.
Yeah, it'll be close to that.
Let's say he's behind Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, maybe even ahead of one of them if like one of them has kind of a bad year or something.
Yeah, but then we got Jefferson.
If Allen keeps playing like he played Monday, I think he's going to for sure be ahead of Jefferson and Chase.
I think so.
And I think he'll be ahead of Lamar. And then
I think he'll be ahead of Lamar.
And unless Lamar completely crushes. And then it kind of depends. Yeah, it will depend on like Burrow, Lamar, Herbert, and Lawrence. If like one of them has just an outrageous like MVP style year, they probably end up ahead of him. But he probably is then ahead of the rest of those guys. So yeah, he probably goes like 104, 105, 106. I think Marvin Harrison will like walk into the league with kind of CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, like Amon-Ra, like tier value.
Yeah, I think he'll be a wide receiver 3 out of the gate, basically.
Yeah, I think he'll be like an early second round pick. And then, I mean, I think May probably would have been for most people the best quarterback in this past year's class. So if Bryce Young was going in the late second, May probably starts going in the mid to late second. And then we'll see with Brock Bowers. But I think, you know, he probably a little more draft capital and landing spot dependent, but I could easily see him going in like the 3rd round. So it's going to be a pretty crazy top 4.
Yeah.
And I haven't even mentioned a running back yet. And some running back is going to get good draft capital with a good team, and then people are going to really love him. So,
yeah, which is why I'm like, I'm not that interested in trading.
Do you like any of the running backs this year? I kind of don't like the running backs 2024.
Yeah, like there's some interesting ones. I don't like. There's no Bijan.
I think Travion Henderson's pretty overrated personally, but I don't know if I should say that yet. I haven't like dug in fully enough to like be just firing off takes. But
pretty early to be like throwing the number 1 recruit / number 1 running back for the last 2 years completely under the bus is overrated. It's a little early for that.
His freshman year was pretty impressive.
I feel like Breece Hall got that actually. He like kind of got skewered after his he was like the number 1 player for like 2 years, and then in his junior year he kind of got skewered. I don't really know why. And then he went to the combine and like crushed the combine, and everyone was like, Breece Hall, let's go. And then, but nobody wanted to say that he was generational, interestingly.
No.
But
I think it's the Iowa State factor. I think people steal the Iowa State and they're like, you're David Montgomery, dude.
That was actually what happened. like in his third year, he was like suddenly like David Montgomery, and people were like, oh, he's not athletic. Then he went to the combine and like exploded the combine. I'm like, how do you like? I don't watch film. Don't get me wrong. I have no idea how to tell somebody's athletic on the freaking TV. They all look athletic to me. But how do you watch David Montgomery and watch Breece Hall and come to the conclusion they're the same guy? Like, I just
yeah. By the way,
maybe that's what they look like. Maybe that's Iowa has like a slow field, maybe, and it was just really slow with David Montgomery. I don't know.
We could have put this under surprises, but like really encouraging surprises. Good week for the ACL boys.
Yeah.
Really sad week, obviously, for the Achilles boys. Well, both those who were previously with Achilles and Cam Akers, and then obviously, especially those who have newly ruptured their Achilles. J.K. Dobbins one broke my heart. 20% target share, 79% snaps. I thought I had a massive hit on my hands, and then it was gone like that.
Yeah, it was looking great. I was just chimed into a Twitter discussion on J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and I agree with you on this one. I've been fighting with people on the Discord. People have been saying, like, I mean, I agree with the endpoint sentiment, which is that his fantasy relevant career is probably over.
Yeah.
But I've seen people being like, you should sell him for a fourth. And I'm like, no.
What's the point?
Like, I mean, I think I would sell a third for him, or like I'd sell like a player worth a third, because I think at some point in time he's going to be worth a two to somebody. I mean, we've seen this come back, time and time again. And at the worst case scenario, like, who are you really drafting the third? A bunch of backup running backs, right? It could probably be that.
Contingent upside, like usually not even backups. Usually it's like backups. So,
right, half the third round running backs we drafted were healthy scratches this week. And one of the second round ones.
It's rough. It was rough. So yeah, anyways, it's I would for those that didn't see on Twitter, basically my stance was like you should buy him for anything less than a second. You'll probably be able to sell them for a second at some point. You'll get that first like we've talked about this in the Discord for years now. You'll get that like first report that's like, oh, he's ahead of schedule. Oh, he looks great. Oh, like, or he's on schedule, like whatever. And he'll be jumping in the water or running down the track or whatever he's doing. Be some kind of workout video, and everyone will get hyped up, and then he'll land on a depth chart somewhere eventually, because I think he's a free agent after this year. And you'll get like a multitude of stuff. It'd be like you're on the subway, like you just take this stop or the next one or the next one. There's gonna be a bunch of times that you will have an opportunity to get of J.K. Dobbins for probably a reasonably tidy little profit. And I just think you should. I'm not buying him with the intention of holding him forever at this point. I'm buying him with the intention of I'm going to flip him. Like I stash him in my IR. My IR isn't full. It's fine. We got room. Come on in, and you just sit here for a year, and then we'll punt you once we get to next year's training camp, or before, if we start getting the miracle recovery tweets, etc.
Holy.
So yeah. Anyways, I think this class, 2024 class, super, super strong at the top, and we just don't know about the rest yet. We'll find out. There's some really good prospects, but you never know until you get the draft capital. Like, I can list dozens of players that we would have been like, this guy is going to be a first-round pick, and then he doesn't even get drafted, or gets drafted in like day 3. Like Equinemius St. Brown is like the first guy I think of. In Devy circles, he was like a first-round Devy pick for his entire college career. He declared early for the NFL draft. He like did pretty well at the combine, and then everyone expected him to be drafted on day 2, and he fell all the way to like round 6 or 7. And this, like, so many guys. Do you remember that guy that Washington picked up in like round 6, Kelvin Harmon?
Yeah. He was a guy
people had him as the wide receiver 1 in that class before the combine. Like he was not just like a guy that was going to go on day 2. He was going to be the number 1 wide receiver pick in the class. People, not everybody, but some people thought, which is great. And then he got drafted 6th round. Like, it's really, really, we're too far out to pinpoint the middle of the draft, but you can usually pick out the guys that are going to be the very top of the draft. And in this class, we've got 4, and then we're probably going to have, what's that?
We got 4 locked.
4 locked, and we're going to have,
I don't know exactly which running backs, but let's say we're going to have at least probably 2 drafted early, probably Travion, and probably one of Allen or Sanders.
Yeah. And we have
Buka is
Emeka.
almost certainly going to go in first round.
What's the other guy at Ohio State? Emeka.
Yeah, I just said Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah. He's probably going to be a
round.
first round pick in
and
the
then
NFL
Malik
draft.
Neighbors, Xavier Worthy, they have opportunities to potentially be first round picks.
Like we could have a really strong class, and at worst, we have a really top heavy class. So to pivot off of the Zay Flowers talk, and the reason that I'm not buying for a mid first is because we could have a really, really good player at 5th overall, like an incredible player, like a near Bijan level player at 5th overall.
Maybe not near Bijan player at 5th overall.
Okay, maybe not near Bijan, but 4th overall we could.
Yeah.
The only way that we get one of them at 5th overall is if we get like a first round running back. Like if Trevian Henderson goes 20th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's going to jump Kyle Pitts and Brock Bowers, and we're going to get
that would bring me so much joy if he went to the Steelers.
What's that?
That bring me a lot of joy if he went to the Steelers.
I'm just being silly about the time that Najee Harris was not that good and then got drafted early, so then people picked him over Kyle Pitts. That's all I'm saying.
Which I guess it's worked out so far for no one, really.
For no one. Nobody won this.
It's more than Najee Harris drafters.
You could have got out on Najee, though. Yeah, you could have got out of Kyle Pitts.
You really could. Yeah, you could have gotten out on both of them. But look, we're well into the 2-hour mark at this point. But it's been a long ride to get to the point where it's pretty commonly accepted that Travis Etienne is the victor of the 2021 running back class. But I still think it could be Javonte. We've held strong. I feel pretty good about where I'm at right now after week 1, but we'll see.
Etienne right now, but I think like when it's all said and done, I think we could be looking at Javonte as the running back 1 of the class. Today, it's definitely Travis Etienne.
I hope it stays Etienne. That would be. I'd love to see that through start to finish, but I was excited by Javonte week 1 too.